questions? Mr. Nelson.
Yeah. I was wondering about philia, and do you think, or what makes you think, that men and women can be filial? That would be kind of a strange cultural assumption in Greek antiquity that men and women could have the relationship of philia. Um, so I just wonder if you might comment about how that works, if you think that works in play or whatever.
Okay, well, I didn't look specifically at the relationship between women and men, but I read by Elizabeth Belfour, Murder Among Friends, which talks about the way woman and man relationship is probably between Ajax and Tecmessa, because that's the only one I looked at really. And he talks about how Tecmessa was his war booty and his concubine, basically. And she is actually subordinate Philos, the lower one, but so are the sailors who are men. But it's still very important to reciprocate. It didn't talk about because she is a woman, but it talked about even though she's a subordinate one, she needs to reciprocate, and she needs to, and he does too. Just because even though he's obviously the guy with more honor, he needs to fulfill his obligation to Philia. So, but I didn't look at specifically a woman, but I'm just assuming they didn't really talk about the woman aspect of it. So. Alex?
Okay, so the end of the Philoctetes,
Yes.
okay, resolves all the difficulties, in a way. Like,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
so in terms of like this play having some kind of a message about philia, can you reconcile that ending with an ending like that? Can it actually have a message about philia? Like,
Yeah, and I actually talk about this in my paper a little bit, how it's almost like a reward. Because Neoptolemus, well, that's how
Okay.
I interpret it. Like, I feel like it's a reward. Neoptolemus,
just
even,
first tell people how it ends. I think
Yeah.
is
Yeah. They don't know how.
they don't know how it ends. So it's
okay. I think I
Spoiler.
yeah,
Anybody who wants to
spoiler
read
alert.
it,
Yeah.
has to read it.
Spoil the ending, closure, if you don't want to hear spoiler.
Yeah.
It's
yeah.
his mother. Yeah, no, yeah, gotcha.
Yeah, so Neoptolemus and Philoctetes are about to head back home, and Hercules comes down. And he's like, you know what, guys? You need to go back to Troy, and you need to go fulfill your fate. Philoctetes is like, sweet, I'll be there. No, like, resistance. So, and I feel like that's just like the gods rewarding not Philoctetes, but Neoptolemus for his good behavior. Like, ultimately, if you show that if you're a good friend, you'll be able to fulfill your fate or your polis, and you'll be able to fulfill your obligation to your community superiors. That's how I read it anyway. Or you could also look at it as just a stupid ending that made it easy. And that's the other interpretation, but yeah.
Actually, I kind of like that idea because it's a Deus ex machina, but not necessarily be as a kind of way to get out of a moral bind of philia, or at least to like disregard it, but to kind of acknowledge it and reward it. So I think that's probably a pretty good idea. I was curious about your use of the word polis when it comes to representing kind of this mind Greek force. I don't think you're necessarily off on that, but I'm wondering what about the play made you think about the kind of conceptualizing the Greeks as a polis that are going to Troy when they come from like many different places, at least in there. And what is it about the play that makes you identify them with the polis?
Well, I guess the polis as in Athens, not as this collective polis. Maybe I should specify that more. Maybe that's a weakness of it, but I see that Odysseus is the primary icon, I guess you could say, of the polis, in my opinion, because in a sense, his biggest philos, or his favorite philos, is the polis, because he doesn't care about practicing Cedar Treachery and flock to DC. He's like, you have told us you need to go there, be a jerk, lie to him, whatever, steal his bow, leave him there, who cares? Because the polis's fate is at hand. And whether that's the collective polis or like the polis as Athens, which I think might be a better way of putting it, is not really, I don't feel like, important to the point, but maybe I should look into that a little more. So,
Well, I think part of it may be just being able, very briefly, to be able to contextualize the plays as intended to educate the polis. You know, being an education in Athens as for Athens, and the
Yeah.
education of the Demos might help put that in that context. So that would
Yeah.
be more, might be good to do.
so you're saying,
I'm saying I would add a little bit of the historical, if you have it, a little of the context that would help a reader understand that the tragedies were put on in Athens, only for the Athenians, and that they were seen by the city and the citizenry as a means of educating themselves. So, you know, making the stretch from there to Odysseus being kind of a representative of the civic government in some kind of way, or the civic ideals, which would be a more presenting, would help make that leap with smaller.
I see what you're saying. So basically, the festival of Dionysus, because it
Yeah.
was all these people come there and watch it. It's more support for what I'm saying, basically. I understand. Okay.
And I'd also argue that that supports your theoretical approach really well too, because you and I talked about the term a lot of a centrifuge that new historicism really posits, as you say, that literature is elevated beyond mere entertainment, and
Right.
historical documents beyond the mere backdrop for literature,
Right.
but that there's this real interaction, and so that would really highlight that. I think that
Greeks
these-
were naturally good historicists.
The Greeks were
And
naturally new
apparently, yeah.
historians. Beautiful
That's a good
put.
point, though. Yeah, that's true.